I'm Talmage. How are you? There's been some stuff in the papers about the financial part and financial mess in Milan, and in the papers Mr. Barrett referred to problems he inherited from the previous administration. That's me and some of my cohorts, you might say, but basically I was the guy that was responsible for that, and I want to tell you right now that that is certainly not the case, that I messed anything up or left him a mess or did anything that caused him any particular difficulty. Any difficulties he's having comes from his own lack of understanding of what's going on and how municipal accounting works. He's complained to me a little bit about, the complexities of it, and I appreciate that problem. It's not that straightforward, but it's also not that hard once you understand how things work. So the point I'm trying to make is simply this, all right? I had set up the QuickBooks systems that he said, and it is true we use an older version of QuickBooks, and we were following some examples that came from Mr. Jeffries. But we set up all of these QuickBooks systems, and we managed the town's finances fine for 4 full years, got all of the financial reports in, told the board what we had, always knew how much money we had and where it was and how it had been spent, and knew how to run the system. We use QuickBooks because it's low cost and it's very flexible if you know what you're doing, and I knew what I was doing. All right? I think the present difficulty is very straightforward. Mr. Barrett and his team do not quite know what they're doing, and because of that, and because of the work involved in understanding and using QuickBooks correctly, they basically have not gotten it together to know what's going on. Now they're blaming it on software because it's always easy to blame it on software, but in reality it's a knowledge of the financial accounting that's going on, and any piece of software can be misused and can cause various troubles. So let's make sure we understand that this is a problem of the expertise of the people trying to run the financial matters of the town, and it is not a problem of a software system that they inherited. They could have used it fine. It does have some extra steps in it, and that's probably key here, and let me just explain. The extra steps are the integration of all of the different pieces of data into the correct summary reports. I inherited the system from Mr. Jeffries, and he had put together a summary report of the different, and they're called funds in town accounting, of the different funds, and that summary report was a very, very useful tool from a month-to-month status to see how your money was going, or where it is, or which funds had it, or various things. There's lots going on underneath that, but that summary is the key, and that is the ultimate of whether or not you have a financial report for the town. All right? Mr. Jeffries' format was fine. I adapted it, used it for 4 full years, and left it basically to go forward with Mr. Barrett. The problem is that to fill out this final executive format in a piece of software like QuickBooks, you have to know what pieces to take from different parts, and I'll come back to that, but I took basically 9 different companies or funds and integrated them into an Excel spreadsheet. Straightforward kind of financial reporting, you might say. Well, it's that integration that QuickBooks does not do well, and required a manual step, and required that I knew what I was talking about, and requires that all of the pieces work together. And that's where the complexity comes in, and that's why I say it's how well you understand what's going on, and it's not really the software you're using. One option is to spend a lot of money on a very specific municipal accounting piece of software that tries to do everything for you, and if you learn it and don't make any mistakes, it may or may not do the right things for you, but it's a huge transition. It's a huge expense and transition to change all of the accounting systems, but if they're basically not worthwhile anything, then therein lies the problem. All right, what have I said was that the QuickBooks system had the flexibility, and if you knew what you were doing, you could manage the town's work fine, and that's what I think I did, and that's what I think, and with the help of John Grady and Kathy Gom from Bogosh and Grady, I think we took care of the town finances just fine. And I think we left things in good shape. And in fact, there were reports that the lady that came in and looked at the books with Mr. Barrett indicated that my work was good. She actually stopped one day on the road and rolled down her window as she was passing my house and told me she thought I had left the books in fine shape. And she actually thanked me. I was elated, all right? But the point being is, I think that we did take care of everything. We knew what was going on, and that Mr. Barrett and company don't quite have a good enough handle on it. And they've called in various other people, consultants, and they have simply, you know, told them that, yeah, there's something wrong here, all right? I don't want to go into it much more, but I do want to say, and this is more of an educational thing, that when you look at the town finances, you have to look at several things at once. First off, the software, QuickBooks, is just a way of recording what's going on, all right? But the key in town accounting is that there are different, I'll call them buckets, or I'll call them companies, or I'll call them divisions, or I'll call them funds, but each one is independent. And you've heard about them: general fund, highway fund, there's the Wilcox Trust Fund that has a special meaning to it. There's different things that the town has to do to organize its money and keep it separate and keep it easily reported to the town board and to the public. All right? Those funds and the transfer of money between them is what adds the complexity to it. It has nothing to do with the software and everything to do with understanding how town finances actually work. All right? There are various rules that apply, and you've heard of some of them, but if you don't know the whole gist of them, for instance, there's something called the general fund, which is used to run the town government, the town hall, the town board salary, the supervisor's salary, the planning lady's salary, all of that kind of stuff. That's the general fund, and it has to have a budget. You've heard about the budget. The budget has to be approved. The budget sets the taxes. Very important that it's done right, and there's rules about what you have to do and how you have to do it. You got to know those rules. You got to know what you're doing. Then there's rules like moving money between them. And we got over here another fund called the highway fund, and there's a rule that says money can flow into the highway fund, but the highway fund can't give it back to the general fund. Interesting little thing. Highway fund is the biggest taxpayer dollars of what it takes to maintain our road system. What you're getting for your property taxes is a road system, and it's basically done very well. All right? But it has its own rules for accounting. Then you've got these other funds. I mentioned the Wilcox one. There's one related to the fire money. Guess what? You get taxed. It comes to the Milan, and it's basically tax money for your fire district. We got to account for it separately, and at some point we have to pay for it. So there's a accounting problem there. So there's rules about how this goes, and there's ways to do all of this. If you don't understand that, no software is going to really help you. You're always going to be at a loss. That's where I'm at. I just wanted to say my piece. It's nice to talk to you all again. Talk to you later. Bye.